CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery, and it's about building requests that look like valid requests but actually aren't. Now, what does this mean? Let's go back to our page here. We have this form, and this form is rendered by our website. Now, let's say this form would not be about getting the username, but about filling out the details for a bank transaction, for sending money to someone else. Now, if I'm a bad guy, I could rebuild the look and feel of the official form from a bank, but host it on my own site, possibly with a URL and a domain that looks very similar to the official bank's domain. Now I could trick users to visit my page, for example with some phishing emails which I send out, and once they're on my page, the page to them looks like the official bank's page, and they might fill in the details to send money to a friend. But since it's my page and I'm a bad guy, actually I might gather some user data, but then send that data slightly modified to the original bank's servers. I might, for example, replace the name and the bank account number of the recipient with my name and my bank account number. So in the form, users don't see that, but I do that behind the scenes, so to say. And there are ways of achieving that. Then this request for sending money gets sent to the bank's official servers, and all of a sudden, people start sending me money instead of their friends. That's how I could forge a request, how I could fake a request, how I could build a malicious request. This is a common and popular attack pattern, and Django protects you against it with something that is called a CSRF token, a token that prevents this attack pattern. Now, how does it work? The idea basically is that in our website, in our web application, which we're building, we add a dynamically generated token to our generated forms, and that token then has to be sent together with the post request to our servers. If someone then fakes our site and builds his or her own form, sending fake or manipulated data, that token will be missing because only the official server, our application, knows how to build that token and how a valid token should look like, because that token is generated on the server. So therefore, only we are able to build forms that include a valid token, and attackers are not. And on every incoming request, we then check whether such a valid token is part of the request, and we only accept the request and do something with the data if it is. Now, at the moment, our form which we built here doesn't include such a token, which is why when I click send, we get this error that the CSRF verification failed, because this CSRF token, which we should add, is missing. To fix it, we want to insert this token, which is generated by Django, into our form. And doing so is simple. We just need to add a special tag here in the template, and that's the CSRF token tag, which looks like this. By adding this instruction in your Django template, Django will go ahead, generate this unique token and add it in that form, and then validate that token once your post request arrives back on the server. So if we add this and save this, if we now revisit localhost 8000, if we have a look at the Elements tab in the Developer Tools, we see that in this form there is a new input, which is hidden and therefore not visible, because it's not an input where the user should enter data, but instead it is an input with the name of CSRF middleware token and this cryptic value here. And that's this token which is generated by our Django backend, by our Django application. Now, if we would send this request, if we would send this form, it would succeed because that is a valid token which is accepted by our server. But if someone fakes our form, they can't know this token. The token also won't be the same all the time. It will change every time we load this page. And therefore, only our template rendered by our site will have that valid token. So attackers won't be able to send fake requests to our server. They can send requests, but we won't accept those requests because they are missing a valid CSRF token. So that's a security mechanism built into Django. So now with that, if I send Max again, now this succeeds. And now if we visit the network tab, we see that a post request was sent. Currently, though, we're not doing anything with that post request on the server. So that's the next step, the next thing we want to do. We want to make sure that we don't just do nothing, but that instead now we read that submitted data, specifically the username, on the server, and then maybe do something with it there.